Hey, my name's Scott Chacon. I'm the CEO of Kit Butler. I also have to be a certified wine expert. And today on Bits and Booze...
Hey, Scott, what the fuck you doing?
What the fuck?
This is our show now.
Hi, we're not Scott Chacon and we're uncertified.
Yeah, but we like drinking wine.
We love that.
Yeah.
And today we want to talk to you about deploying an application.
Yeah, so I built a Rails app and Steve's going to show me how to put it on the cloud.
Yeah, so let's do it.
Welcome to another episode of Bits and Booze. I am your host, Scott, but I'm not going to be in this episode. Instead, we have special guests Caleb and Esteban, who will be talking about AWS. But before we get to the bits, let's get to the booze. So today, we have a very special treat for you, which is 2 different sparkling white wines. And we're going to see if you can tell the difference between an $18 cava and a $70 Moët Chandon.
Delightful.
Champagne and cava are made the same way, so it's not like a Prosecco, which is sort of an Italian version of this, where they do it in one big tank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour 1 glass of each for you guys. You decide which one you like better after testing both of them, and I'll pour you a glass of both of them. I want you to taste the left, taste the right, figure out which one you want. I'll tell you which one you chose, and pour you a nice glass of it.
I see a B.
You see a B.
I see an A.
All right, so you get the Moët,
Ooh.
and you get the cava.
Okay.
Esteban definitely chose the expensive champagne, and you
What?
definitely chose the cheap cava. Congratulations,
Fair play.
sirs.
Well done.
You're our local sort of AWS expert around the office.
Yeah, expert is heavy, strong terminology, but yeah, sure, let's call it that.
Yeah. So I've built a Rails app because I'm good at building Rails apps,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty terrible when it comes to actually deploying things.
And I know of the concept of cloud, so we're the perfect team for this.
Yeah, you have seen a cloud before.
I have seen
big,
clouds all my
fluffy.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So do you want to talk a little bit about the actual Rails application that we want to deploy right now?
Sure. So I've built a little sort of Twitter-like application, and it's a Rails 8 application, which one of the sort of core things in Rails is that they're trying to make it very easy to deploy, especially if you're, say, wanting to deploy it on in-house infrastructure.
Right.
And one of the ways that they're sort of enabling you to do that is by having sort of the fewest number of external services possible. So the main thing they rely on is a database and the actual app itself to run.
All right.
Because they use the database for both, say, as a standard database, but also for caching and communication between processes for like WebSockets and things like that.
Awesome. So would that also be replacing something like a Redis instance or something like that?
So Basecamp, which is one of the major companies behind Rails, went and sort of did some sort of benchmarking and studies, and they actually found that by replacing Redis with a Postgres database for caching, that with the sort of speed of high-speed NVMe drives and things like that now, the performance difference wasn't very great. And they were actually able to increase their cache size to something like 10 terabytes.
Oh, crazy.
And dramatically sort of improve sort of their peak response times by being able to keep more stuff in the cache at one time.
That's interesting. At what point do you think would it make sense to move towards Redis if you already have this kind of setup? I guess when you have something that is distributed worldwide, maybe that makes more sense?
I guess maybe if you've got certain scale, or perhaps you've got more needs for high-speed cache access. But one of the nice things about Rails is that these elements are really transparently pluggable. So you can sort of switch out a different backend from, like, I think you've got like Redis, you've got the other Redis that no one uses anymore. And that's sort of really easy to sort of switch around and change with Rails.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's very interesting. So, another key point to mention probably is that at least partially the application is contained in a Docker container, right?
Yeah.
And usually when you try to deploy containers in AWS, the recommended way is to use Elastic Container Service.
Right.
which comes with a bunch of bells and whistles, and it's good, but it's good whenever you are at a stage in which you want to have auto-scaling be part of
Okay.
your daily concerns,
yeah.
right? Since right now this is not our case, and for most people that maybe are watching this video, this is not the case, what we will be doing is to deploy the container to an EC2 instance in which you have more control, you can easily SSH into and handle whatever other kind of problems there you want. And the databases part of it will be deployed to an RDS instance.
Right. So EC2, that's kind of like just a regular computer or server that's sat in the cloud that I can do what I want with, right?
It's a virtual machine in the cloud. Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah.
Since this is a GitHub project,
Yeah.
we would also like to have a pipeline in which whenever you push, you merge to master or main, you deploy that into the cloud. That would be also nice.
Yeah.
Let's see if we get all the way there. Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. So what should I do first? What should I click on?
All right. I think we can easily just start by creating the EC2 instance. It's usually one of the fastest applications inside of the AWS console. So if you go ahead and just
So this is the sort of big menu of truth.
Exactly.
And I think there's lots of things, and I've actually recently viewed it, so I think I can click on this here.
There you go.
By the way, what does EC2 stand for?
It stands for Elastic Compute Cloud.
Ooh.
I think. I believe so.
Okay. So I guess here I can navigate to my instances, and I guess I go launch instance.
There you go.
Big orange button to sort of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ignore all of the other 30 buttons there.
Yeah. Hundreds of buttons. Yeah. This is sort of where I get scared, is like there's so many buttons and half of the buttons are behind drop downs. Like,
there you go, yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah, the idea is to give you as many knobs and whistles as you can to just configure your instance however you want.
So I've chosen to launch an instance. I see there's actually several sort of options for operating system. So
right, exactly.
which one are we going to sort of go for today?
The one that is easiest to use is more known, documented, and also has a bunch of extra tooling that we'll be using at some point is Amazon Linux.
Okay.
So let's just stick with that. Maybe let's give it a name first if you scroll up.
That does sound like a good idea.
So
exactly. I'd sort of asked ChatGPT for a project name when it came up with the Wistful Fox. So, Fox, I'll just pop that in there.
That's awesome.
And we've got different architecture options, but I presume let's just stick with sort of 64 bits. So
exactly. I think for now the defaults will probably get us there.
Cool. And it looks like we've got sort of instance type options here as well.
Right.
So these are the T2 ones, and which are like burstable or something?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But as well, like probably the defaults are fine. We don't need so much computing power there.
Yeah, it might be good to go for 2 gigs just for running Docker, but
surely,
you know, it's currently on the work credit card. So yeah, great. So key pair login.
Exactly. So this is something that we will need to use in order to be able to SSH into the instance once it's actually deployed, right? Usually developers will already have a couple of key pairs that they use for different machines. Yeah. I think we can just generate a new one just for simplicity's sake.
So let's create a new key pair. So let's call this, what should we call a key?
Mon key.
The Mon key, great. There you are. And we've got 2 options. I know that like ED25519, it's supposedly better than RSA. Someone told me that.
Sounds better.
I mean, it's got loads of numbers. It's like the sort of secure key 9000.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah. Let's create a key pair. So
exactly, and that downloads the .pm file.
So I'll just move that out of my, oh God, I did CD. I did the wrong command. Oh, my days.
It's fine.
So we've got the Mon key here.
Awesome.
Great. So we'll be using that later to sort of connect to the server.
Correct, exactly. And then at this point, the networking settings is also, most of it you can just leave as the default. It's basically just asking what virtual private cloud you want this instance to be part of. If you have multiple in a single region. Right now we just stick to the first one. Right. We might need to create a security group. I'm not sure if you already have one or if you want to reuse one.
A security group.
Exactly.
Where do I click on buttons here?
Create security group.
I have made a security group already.
Okay. Awesome.
It's called Wildly Unsafe.
Yeah, it sounds perfectly sane and a good option.
So I set this up just to allow traffic from anywhere to talk to this server. because I didn't want to, worry about like what can connect, what can't connect.
Sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah. And for storage, I guess we can just sort of give it 20 gigs because we're doing some Docker stuff and that can be quite large in size.
Let's do it. Yeah, for people that are actually going through these steps, probably you don't want to have this wildly unsafe security group there. Maybe you just want to check what type of connections can be done through TCP, HTTP, HTTPS, etc. For the testing purposes, I think it's more than fine.
And we should also say that once we're done here, we're going to delete everything. So you might see keys and you might see exciting stuff, but it's not going to exist at the end of the episode. So
if we remember to delete it, right?
That is a good point.
So cheers to remembering.
Cheers to remembering.
There you go.
It's telling us a bit of a summary here. So it's running Amazon Linux, got instance type and sort of various details.
Exactly.
This looks good to me. Let's launch the instance.
Boom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, success.
Nice.
Exactly. It's super easy, super fast.
Yeah. Just 100 different options you can choose from.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. So now I guess this gives us some details about it. So we've got like the IP address and various other details.
Exactly right.
So I guess let's try connecting it to this now.
Sure. Let's try it.
Yeah. So the command for this is very convoluted. So what we do is, I guess, SSH -I, so we can sort of specify the key. And then we tell it what we want to connect to. So for EC2, this is a EC2 minus user.
Yeah, exactly. That's the default user for the EC2 instances.
And then the IP address.
Exactly.
And yes, I trust you with all of my life. And shit. Okay, so...
right, yeah, we've encountered this problem before.
So this is something that I think it's SSH that complains about, but if we take a look at the file permissions here, it's accessible to other users, and SSH doesn't like that because it's not secure, and it's right about that. So let's do a chmod 600 and then our key name, and now we can SSH in, and it should work.
Beautiful.
So there we are.
Awesome. And then can you enter pwd just to check where we are exactly?
Yep.
Beautiful. We're in the user home directory, right?
Awesome. So this is just like the home of the server, and we can just put whatever we fancy in here.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Term equals ANSI.
All right. You discovered that, right? That, if you hit backspace, it just keeps adding spaces.
Yeah. So something weird about the SSH is that it doesn't know what server you're using by default. So we can just specify and say, what terminal? So I can specify I'm using an ANSI terminal, and then it all plays together nicely.
Beautiful.
Awesome. So I have a server. What should I do?
The next part probably is to instantiate the database and then connect that to the server. So we can go back to the AWS console and now navigate to RDS, which stands for Relational Database Service.
Cool.
Probably.
That sounds reasonable.
Sounds reasonable,
yeah.
Right?
So, cool. Buttons.
Awesome.
I guess I can hit this Create Database button. That looks about right.
Always look for the bright orange button whenever you're in the AWS
I want to click the Buy button.
Exactly, yeah.
So I built my thing using PostgreSQL.
Okay.
I think there's like Aurora and like other options, but I don't know what they are. So let's not play around.
Exactly. Let's stick with that one for now.
Yeah.
The engine version probably also doesn't matter, right?
No.
So it's
Rails. When I used to work with people who had Rails applications, the only reason they would ever update the Postgres version was because it was critically out of the support window. And we're like, please let us do this.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So there's lots of options here. So
let's also go ahead and choose the free tier for the template.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes everything a bit simpler as well.
Yeah. So we've got a database identifier. So the
Wistful.
With not a H, istful.
I actually just forgot how we spell wistful. Wistful.
It's whist without a H, which is one of these bizarre English words where you've got like which is like the W-H-I.
Exactly.
Bizarre.
What does wistful mean actually? Is it sounds like wise.
It's kind of like sort of being unbothered, sort of sitting there, biding your time.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah.
So just cool, like a cool fox.
You're a cool fox. Yeah.
Nice.
So we can leave this mostly alone.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we should use the secrets manager, right? Because that stores things sort of
Exactly. So that
secretly.
Exactly. So that both the user and the password are stored in a service that can be accessed through other services,
Right.
which we might or might not acknowledge somewhere in this video, or it's just generally better to have them stored somewhere that you can,
Awesome.
look for them.
So I shouldn't use a giant TXT file.
Probably not.
Oh, sounds good.
I mean, that might be part of the same package of the wildly unsafe security group. So maybe if you are into those kind of like living at the extreme, maybe.
I see. Cool. So this is using the cheap one because cheap sounds good.
Sounds really good.
I think all of this looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Also,
we don't have a bunch of things, not a bunch of tables or rows, right? So
No, I mean,
20
this is
gigabytes
just
should be fine.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I guess we should connect it.
Exactly, to an EC2 instance. So if you select that option, you should be able to then select the EC2 instance you want it to connect to.
Yeah. So
there
what
we
exactly does this sort of connecting do for me?
So it's just taking care about allowing two different resources that are part of the same VPC talk to each other. They might be in different subnets. If you want them to, you can configure all of that to the granularity level that you want, but basically just lets them talk to each other from the default. Yeah.
And a VPC is the sort of like private network that
Exactly.
AWS
It's a network partition that you can have inside of a region that basically allows you to restrict who has access to and what resources can talk to which other ones, so that you just have a better organized set of resources in the cloud.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And can I have like a thing that goes across regions, or is that just like madness and let's not worry about it?
It's a good question. I mean, if you are at the networking level, then yes, because at that point it's just like accessing different IPs. So as far as you have like an app gate attached to those VPCs, then fine. If you can just natively have them talk to them across regions and across accounts, that's a whole another topic. I actually don't know.
I mean, of course, you're the expert.
Oh, I mean, yes, of course.
So it looks like we've got like IPv4 and automatic. That sounds like things
great.
I don't have to worry about.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. And choose
Security group.
Security group.
Exactly.
I think last time we did default, right? Because
right, you're right. Yeah, I thought they might have needed to be in the same security group, but then we established they didn't, so it's fine.
I said he was like, "Why don't we do the same?" And I was like, "Let's be different."
Let's be different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So random.
Yeah, just changing it up all the time. Cool. Password authentication is what I put into Rails, so let's go for that. And we don't need any monitoring, but I think there's various options that may or may not charge you money in ways that no one really understands.
Right, yeah.
So enable them at your peril.
By the way, probably this is a great point at which we need to establish that this is not paid advertising. That doesn't mean that we will not take in some money from advertisers. So if AWS wants to sponsor us at any point during this video, just let us know.
Also, if you want to sponsor us on wine as well, because we get through lots of that.
Yeah, there's different types of payments that we accept. Let's continue.
Let's continue creating the database. I see Scott over there just going like, what have I signed up for? Yeah.
Awesome. And now it's exactly trying to
It's trying to sell me more things.
to sell you more things, exactly. Yeah. You don't need that right now.
Cool.
It's fine. It should take a couple of seconds, if not a minute or two, to create. So the next step would be to start thinking about how we want to deploy this application, right?
Yeah.
So this is yet another product that we need to attach to our EC2 instance, which is called Code Deploy.
Okay.
And that basically allows for this automation service to push code towards our EC2 instance.
Okay.